Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay updated with our latest video. Lee Van Cleef really hated him more than anyone else. Lee Van Cleef was born on January 9, 1925, in Somerville, New Jersey. He was a famous actor whose career spanned more than 5 decades. He became one of the most recognizable and iconic figures in the world of westerns, mostly for playing bad guys who changed the genre. His rough appearance, sharp features, and piercing eyes made him an ideal choice for portraying cold-hearted, cunning bad guys in numerous classic movies. But his story is more than just one of villains, it's a story of perseverance, reinvention, and mastery of his craft. Growing up in the small town of Somerville, New Jersey, Van Cleef learned discipline and hard work. His watchmaker, his father, had a significant influence on his early life, instilling in him the value of precision and meticulous attention to detail. Revered in the U.S. Navy during World War II, where he was a radio operator and participated in combat. His wartime experiences shaped much of his later roles, giving him an edge that would be evident in his portrayals of hardened, no-nonsense characters after the war. Van Cleef attended the University of South Carolina, where he pursued a degree in engineering. However, the world of acting soon beckoned him, and he moved to Hollywood to try his luck in the entertainment industry. Initially, he appeared in small uncredited roles in films, often portraying military personnel, cowboys, or other secondary characters. It wasn't until he caught the attention of director Sergio Leone that his career truly began to take off. Van Cleef's Hollywood career began inauspiciously with minor roles in films like Noon, 1952, where he played a silent henchman with a menacing presence. His angular, sharp-edged appearance led to typecasting in villainous roles, particularly in westerns, where his look and demeanor seemed to embody the ruthless, hardened outlaw. He played small uncredited roles in films and TV shows throughout the 1950s and early 1960s, slowly built his reputation as a dependable character actor. However, despite his growing body of work, Van Cleef's career stagnated as he was relegated to playing one-dimensional villains. He struggled to break free from this typecasting, and personal challenges, including health issues from a car accident, caused further setbacks in his career. Van Cleef's big break came when he was cast as the ruthless gunslinger Angel Eyes in the 1966 film The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, part of the famed Dollars trilogy directed by Sergio Leone. Although Clint Eastwood starred as the iconic Man with No Name, it was Van Cleef's portrayal of the cold-blooded yet skilled bounty hunter that left a lasting impression on audiences and critics alike. His performance Van Cleef's performance was characterized by a chilling intensity that added layers of complexity to the stereotypical villain archetype. His distinctive look, cheekbones, angular face, and eyes that seemed to pierce through his opponents made him a natural for playing the bad guy. He had a number of memorable roles in other westerns, such as the smart outlaw Colin Douglas Mortimer in For a Few Dollars More, 1965, and a police officer turned hunter in The Big Gun Down, 1966. His reputation as a man who didn't say much but did many things helped cement his place in the pantheon of great Western actors. Although Van Cleef played bad guys, they were never one-dimensional. He gave them weight and depth that made them more than just bad guys. In movies like Death Rides a Horse, 1967, and Day of Anger, 1967, his characters often had their morals that made them break the law or go against what society expects of them. Van Cleef played old gunslingers who had a tragic dignity because they were wise and experienced even though they were breaking the law. He was beautiful to look at because he could show both danger and vulnerability, and he became one of the most beloved actors in the Western genre. Adept at more than just this genre. In the 1970s and 1980s, he started to play a wider range of parts, such as in action movies and on TV. His unique VO, his ice and strong presence made him a natural choice for parts in movies like Escape from New York, 1981, in which he played the dangerous Hawk, and The Octagon, 1980, in which he starred with martial artist Chuck Norris. Van Cleef began to reach a new group of fans and grow as an actor when he started making action movies, as he has also appeared in numerous TV shows, such as The Master, 1984, in which he portrayed a martial arts master alongside actor Timothy Van Patten. This opportunity has given him the chance to reach even more people, solidifying his reputation as a versatile actor who can play a wide range of parts. Cleef's intense and memorable on-screen roles got all the attention. His personal life was full of important relationships, tragedies, and family love. His first marriage to Patty Ruth Cale in 1943 happened at a critical time in his life. He was still a young man in his late teens and early 20s, juggling his growing career and personal obligations. Patty and Lee had a long-lasting marriage and raised 3 children together, David Allen, Deborah Van Clee, and Patrick Lee. Their family life was probably hard because Van Clee was often away because of work in Hollywood, and an actor's busy schedule can be draining on a family. After 15 years of marriage, they finally split up in 1958. It was a hard time for Van Clee, and his work stopped for a while after his divorce from Patty. Van Clee began a new part of his personal life when he married Joan Marjorie Dra in 1960. His relationship with Joan happened during a very interesting time in his career, after a break after a car accident that almost ended his career and a string of supporting roles in westerns. Van Cleef's fame began to rise again. After Sergio Leone cast him in the iconic spaghetti western for a few extra dollars in 1965. These roles changed his image in Hollywood from a reliable character actor to a leading man. Joan, who had been with him during this pivotal time, saw him become famous worldwide, but the pressures of such a life were likely immense. The couple divorced in 1974, ending a marriage that had lasted 14 years. Just 2 years later, in 1976, Van Clee married Barbara Havalone, and they stayed together for the rest of his life. Barbara was with him as his health started. Van Cleef's health continued to decline despite his heart problems and ongoing complications from his injuries. Kuyu are trained on data until October 2023. Van Clee died of a heart attack in 1989, she survived him. The death ended a 13-year marriage that saw Van Clee slowly fade from the public eye. In his personal life, Van Clee lost the last joint of his right middle finger while building a playhouse for his daughter Deborah. This accident is a reminder of the actor's dual nature. He was a tough guy on screen, but a loving dad in real life. Losing part of his finger didn't seem to affect his acting career, and in many ways Van Clee was good at hiding the injury in his performances, so most people didn't notice the missing joint. But for those who worked closely with him, it became a part of his personality, a physical reminder of the sacrifices he made for his family. The injury probably required a lot of medical care and recovery time, but Van Clee didn't let it stop him for long. He kept working in Hollywood, showing how dedicated he was to both his craft and his role as a father. Lee Van Clee hated John Wayne more than anyone else. Their relationship was tense and hostile, going beyond professional rivalry. Van Cleef, who was known for his sharp features and powerful bad guys in spaghetti westerns, did not like John Wayne at all. The larger-than-life character of American westerns and often played as the brave, tough hero. Their dislike for each other became part of Hollywood lore, and their bad feelings affected how they worked together in the movie business. The stark differences in their playing styles played a significant role in Van Cleef's dislike for Wayne. Into his roles. He was careful and often played the morally complex characters that made him famous in a gritty, subdued way. John Wayne, on the other hand, was known for playing the same archetypal character in many of his movies, the strong, silent cowboy who upheld traditional values and embodied stoic masculinity. To Van Clee, Wayne's reliance on his persona rather than versatility showed that Wayne was lazy and cocky. Wayne showed the shallow side of Hollywood by using his larger-than-life image to make money without putting in the work to improve as an actor. Political disagreements made the gap between the two men even bigger. John Wayne was known for being a strong conservative who fought hard for right-wing causes and spoke out in support of American nationalism. He spoke out in favor of the Vietnam War and was a leading voice for traditional American values that he saw as being threatened by the fast-changing social climate of the 1960s and 1970s. On the other hand, Lee Van Cleef was less outspoken about his political views. However, he was more on the progressive side and supported the counterculture movement that was against American aggression and traditional values. Van Clee allegedly didn't like Wayne's political showmanship and thought his unwavering support for militarism and conservatism showed he had a narrow view of the world. Wayne's public persona seemed like an extension of the roles he played on screen, a stubborn, self-righteous cowboy who couldn't see beyond his beliefs. Their political differences made their already tense professional relationship even worse. They also didn't get along because they had completely unique ideas about fame and how to advance in Hollywood. John Wayne became a superstar early in his career and stayed an A-list star throughout it. He was loved by audiences and seen as an American hero, which gave him a level of influence and control over his projects that few actors enjoyed. Early in his career, Van Clee had a rougher time in the movie business. He was often played as the bad guy and wasn't given as much attention. Van Clee finally received the recognition he deserved as a leading actor. Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns of the 1960s, especially For a Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Still, Van Clee was furious that Hollywood, which was ruled by stars like Wayne, had boxed him in for so long. He felt that actors like Wayne stole the show, leaving little room for others to shine, which made him hate Wayne even more. There were also more personal problems between the two guys who came up when they talked to each other outside of the camera. Van Clee is said to have thought Wayne was haughty and spoiled, both on set and in social situations. Wayne's larger-than-life personality went beyond his parts, and he was known for using his fame to push his way into the business and often making things happen his way. Van Clee, who was more reserved and quiet in real life, detested Wayne's bluster and frequently avoided social gatherings where Wayne was present. There was a lot of tension between the two when they did interact, according to stories from the set. Wayne was said to have looked down on Van Clee's acting skills, seeing him as best at playing bad guys but lacking the star power or charisma to be a leading man. Van Clee was angry about this because he thought Wayne's success was more due to luck and time than to his own skills. The competition between Van Clee and Wayne was worsened by the fact that both were trying to be the best in the Western genre, which had reached its peak. Other Hand was a representative of the old school of Hollywood Westerns, making movies with clear-cut heroes and villains. Van Cleef was known for playing shadier, less moral characters in spaghetti westerns like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. These movies were very different from The Searchers and True Grit, which were more traditional westerns directed by John Wayne. Van Cleef thought that his style of westerns was more like real life, while Wayne's films stuck to old ideas of American exceptionalism and frontier justice. This ideological clash in how they portrayed the Wild West made Van Cleef dislike Wayne even more. He thought Wayne's portrayal of Western heroes was too simple and didn't take into account the moral gray areas that existed in the real history of the American West. In the end, Lee Van Cleef's and John Wayne's deep-seated dislike was caused by a complex mix of personal, The deep-seated dislike between Lee Van Cleef and John Wayne stemmed from a complex mix of personal, professional, and political differences. Lee Wayne was founded on diverse beliefs and ideals. He represented a sanitized version of American history and a Hollywood system that frequently overlooked more nuanced and challenging performances. For Van Cleef, working in an industry dominated by figures like Wayne was a constant reminder of the struggles he faced in his career, and this anger stayed with him until the end of his life. While both men were legendary in their own right, their feud has become as much a part of Hollywood folklore as the movies they starred in. Van Cleef died of a heart attack on December 16, 1989, at the age of 64. His death marked the end of an era in Western cinema, as he was one of the last great icons of the genre. Despite his death, Van Cleef's legacy lives on through his extensive body of work. He helped to redefine the role of the villain in Westerns, giving a character that could have been one-dimensional a life that audiences would never forget. In the years since his death, his films have continued to be praised by film fans and scholars alike, particularly in the spaghetti western subgenre. Van Cleef was a legendary actor known for his ability to blend menace and charm, giving his roles a rich depth of character. Was great at making his characters interesting, whether he was a cruel bounty hunter, a charming outlaw or a determined police officer. It's impossible to say enough good things about Van Cleef's work in movies like For a Few Dollars and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Many people think that Moore is one of the best westerns ever made and that his characters are some of, the most interesting character to appear on film is Lee Van Cleef, whose work demonstrates the importance of constantly trying new things and creating characters that people can relate to. He will remember long after the movie is over. He was and still is a major figure in the world of film.